Hello, my name is Olga Poroshenko. I am Associate Professor from the Department of History and Philosophy of Kazan State University of Architecture and Engineering from Kazan, Russia. And I would like to make a presentation today in the style of philosophical essay. The title of my presentation is "Who Are We? Limits of Western Rationality." If we don't go deep into scientific definitions and interpretations, then such words as self, subjectivity, internal world appear to be the same. At least they all stand for something inside the human, inside the intimate spiritual world that is hidden from curious eyes. This space, which is close to others, is the most important and fragile essence of any human. Self is so important for us because we live our entire life with it. With whom, if not with ourselves, do we talk often, share our sadness and joy? With whom do we singing the popular melody from the yesterday's movie? Who do we trust our secrets? We are comfortable with I and myself. We talk to other individuals much less often. Even when we work with others on cultural products, we are trying to express our own internal world more than anything else. If only we could cover the whole external world with our own blanket, then all the great dreams from Superman to ideal state would come true. I is so important for a Western person who was brought up in the culture of individualism, trust in himself, that this person is ready to go to great lengths to sacrifice his property, beliefs, and even life for I and own. That all would be fine and even congruent with us, like in macrocosm, if only that internal world was not so fragile. What terrible tragedies do we experience when confronted in minor internal conflicts with others, arising from misunderstanding, non-inclusion, and disrespect, not to mention life tragedies such as disregard, solitude, and self-destruction. To be or not to be, that is the question the rational Western eye asks to the self. There is only one answer to this question: to be. And it is not just to be, it is to exist, to act, to create, to move forward, in a word, to be a subject. But how to overcome all these tragedies? Where can a poor human soul go? In which cavern of existence can it hide? Globalization is coming from all sides. The world system doesn't need a person anymore, who has become an observer, not part of anything and responsible for nothing. Systems are self-organizing, self-reproducing. In extreme cases, they use artificial intelligence. Where should Homo sapiens go? We have been in subconscious before. We know our complexes from Oedipus to Little Red Riding Hood. We haven't lived but sublimate for nearly a century. We would devote ourselves to art, but we can't. there is no art anymore, only 5 words in neon light. So Western persons, you and I, face an insolvable contradiction. We want to create as we are subjects, but postmodernists forbid it. Since it is forbidden to change the external world, there is only one choice: to refute the external world and turn your gaze into yourself. Ontological turn is our response. What do we see in this new ontology? Thanks to liberal democracy, we can see what we wish to see. Some of us see a reflection of existence, others see fears or even nothing. On the one hand, an endless variety of choices for every taste and color. On the other hand, competition, laws of market. And we can't live without market due to our type of rationality. Our philosophical spiritual leaders don't stay on top for long. In the 20th century alone, we saw lots of transitions. They were Marxists with neo-Marxists, Freudists with Lacanovists, phenomenologists with existentialists, personalists with constructivists. What did they struggle for? Probably for truth. Although no, there is no truth either. Well done, postmodernists. They left us without oxygen and environmental disaster. What to do? Finally, this question became of interest of Western civilization. And Western civilization got stuck on this question. Where are we going? What do we want? What are our supreme values? What is good and evil? There are only questions, no answers. Why? Maybe there was no need to look for nothing inside yourself. You had to see something. Therefore, we discard the outdated question, what to do, and raise a new question. Who am I? Who am I sounds brave, courageous, heroic. Who cares about postmodernists? If only we could find the answer to this question, the Renaissance would come again, or even ancient Greece. And we would not be trapped in this untitled era. Modern was before and postmodern past. At the moment, we have no identity. In one word, we are divides, flaneurs. No mom, no dad, no king, no prophet, no how, no idea. We have no ideals, no moral beliefs, no trust, no ethical principles. We live in social and moral apathy. But our internal world is very big. It is bigger than the external world because we are able to grasp, feel, see, touch, smell the whole external world, or what we mean by it. This world is alien for us. We are guests in it, just drop by to socialize. First, we're cautious in the world as with any stranger, and gradually become either friends or enemies. The closest friends of the external world are scientists, who know everything about it, but there is nothing like home. Wherever we go, whatever we do, sooner or later, we come back home to self. Our own internal world is huge, infinite in comparison with the finite being of a separate human life. We will never know why it is so huge, who or what made it because similar cannot be understood by similar. That's why we cannot describe it as a bug under the microscope, and we need a different methodology, the methodology of an internal observer. Mankind has invented several such methods like meditation, intuition, and techniques of expanding consciousness. However, for us, representatives of Western culture, it is hard to adapt to them. We need something rational and technologically sound. We are used to living according to the idea, sample, and model. We are the children of paternalist culture. Give us a theory and we will live according to it. Therefore, a Western internal observer is a sober, reflecting eye, the subject of our subjectivity, and the object for it is not external but internal world, and everything that is presented in it, existence, God, cosmos, Brahman, etc. The external world is an objectivation of the internal one. For the external world, the principle of reflection is replaced by the principle of interpretation. Today, no representative of the university public will argue with this. There are a lot of objectivations of the internal world. Objective modes of the human internal world are represented in all spheres of human activity: science, culture, art, etc. Consciousness, reason, instincts, existential feelings are only the constituent parts, bundles and lines of our subjectivity, our internal world. Why do they disagree with solipsists if the world is a complex of my feeling? This means that, like identity of existence and thought, or pre-existence of Dasein in the world, in the objects of subjectivity, God, cosmos, Brahma, there are reasons not only for their cognition, but also for the existence of human subjectivity itself. The man can understand God, cosmos, Brahma only within the framework of his own subjectivity, which is given to him ontologically and metaphysically. Understanding of the external world is secondary. That was declared by the ancient, knowing oneself by Socrates, in the Middle Ages, the inner man of Augustine, and the recent life world of Husserl and hermeneutic circle by Dilthey. The question, what is the meaning of being Dasein, can be posed only if ontology doesn't turn into a doctrine of the total closed existence of entity. A man must understand that what he is inside from the very beginning, and this beginning lies deeper than his ontology. A man has been called an animal, a rope, a model, a non-specified creature, but he still doesn't know who he is and where he came from. We offer our own version. A man is a funnel. The wider part is inside, the narrower is outside. The man's will creates the direction of movement from inside out. Example, from sacred to the profane. Each of us gives out the unique product, our own personality, by filtering the world through ours. Thus, I creates itself without exogenous help from other eyes. Therefore, I have a responsibility, first of all to myself, and then to parents, to homeland and law. Sounds egoistic? Rather egologic than egoistic. We can look at situation from the point of view of dialectics. if I am responsible to myself, then I am free in relation to others, parents, homeland, and law. The more responsibility for oneself the I takes on itself, the more freedom it gains. A free person always looks aesthetic. He is courageous and energetic, handsome and charismatic. He is always surrounded by friends and fans, because, as we know, beauty attracts people. So, to reach the perfect harmony and therefore to prevent conflicts with the external world, a free hero can only open the veil over the tragic collisions of his inner world. The whole struggle, the pangs of choice and the passion of love are there. There he fights with the demons of his soul, prostrates himself before divine love, experiences existential feelings of despair and guilt. Everything inside. Only a light flare of these storms and tragedies can reach the external observer. And this flare only complements the aesthetic picture of the hero of our time, with an ethical component. Beauty and goodness are own. Beauty and goodness are one. It is necessary to note that the heights of contemporary romanticism can be reached only if the internal world is filled with tragic content. This is not as easy as it might seem at first glance. Much more often we take our internal mourning with a vivid melodramatic effect, which we promote in the market of soap opera lovers for a genuine tragedy. Melodrama is our style of communication with others. Tragedy is our style of communication with ourselves. The absurdity of existence forever left us alone with its expectations, ideas, and desires. A closed anthropological universe is the cycle of totality, which, like an excavator with bucket, wrecked everything human from the universe. This pile, consisting of billions of combinations of events, emotions, experiences, and practices, is the authentic core of our individuality. Think in itself of subjectivity, human self. I myself suggest not only heroism but also solitude. A man is alone from the beginning and forever. I am alone is an axiom, and with a greater degree of certainty than I think. When this obvious fact finally reaches a person, he even senses it physically. Solitude is the ontological state that captures a person completely, rationally, emotionally, socially, existentially, and physically. It is at this moment of truth that we realize and experience ourselves, our final and last I. This doesn't happen to everyone. Some remain children, hoping to achieve the ecstasy of mutual dissolution in the social world until the end of their days, like a spoonful of sugar in hot tea. The problem is twofold. On the one hand, we want to reach out to the other in order to understand or dominate. On the other hand, to be understood or absorbed. What do I, you dialogues, meeting events, acts of communication give to a person? Is it a constant search for oneself, even through the prism of love for the other? Solitude is care for oneself. They say that even suicides who jumped from the 10th floor instinctively trying to cling to branches by flying past a tree, will to live. You meet the absolutely new Robinson. He doesn't want to rule over nature and to be the king of Fridays, or forget the rational censorship of consciousness, releasing libido to bask in the sun. Our new Robinson is an authentic subject, aware of his uniqueness, recognizing himself and his always and everywhere, space, culture, society, God, another person. He doesn't care whether to return to civilization or stay in the wild. His eye is always above, over, meta. Having realized and accepted our solitude, we become free. Only after going this way you can allow yourself to return to the other eyes, to society, because now we will not demand from our neighbor that which he couldn't never give away, his eye. The bottom line is that we need to respect and accept the other as other, different. Only then we can recognize and feel unity. We are both lonely. To know that you are not alone in your solitude, what could be more optimistic? Having overcome the love for one's neighbor, the desire to possess and be possessed, a person turns to another eye in order to build communication on an essential ontological level. The search for one's own person, simply a friend, is determined by the knowledge obtained as a result of metaphysical knowledge of the transcendental by my subjectivity. In the other, we are looking for the faces of our God, those signs that only my own eye can recognize. This ontological communication allows one to take off the table the psychological and social features of another person. Individual originality will not allow unity to be formed. The special will not be universal. The language of the ontological communication is the language of universals. Friendly communication is communication within the framework of a highly contextual culture like the Chinese. Each concept has many meanings that are elusive to the outside observer but recognizable by friends. To translate the language of metaphysics into forms of discursive practices is one of the eternal problems in Western culture. Attempts to search for a common language have been made more than once. The entire esoteric line of European philosophy, from Plato to Heidegger, can be called the technique of translating Oriental metaphysics into the language of European science. To continue this line, there is a small group of aesthetes who want internal harmony, since they are tired of the spiritless pragmatism, formalism, consumerism, and glamour. Like amateur archaeologists, they are on an independent, illegitimate quest for their eye, alternately visiting either the temples of science and church or the gardens of Epicurus. What does the future hold for them, to be abandoned in existence, they have already adapted to it, or thrown out from the holiday of life of modern society, become marginals, forget about creativity, mind, honor, and conscience. They can't be silent in the era of information technology and mass communication. Therefore, calls for an elite uprising are getting louder. But let's not forget that in the classic version, the elite was not globalized, but spiritual. Our Western universal spirit is the same as that of the Indians, one for all. Therefore, it is up to the East to demonstrate it, and the West to describe it, to each their own. And there will be world peace, tolerance, and homogeneity. Thank you very much.